All right, today we're going to take a look at Hull Breach Volume 1. This is made for use with the Mothership Sci-Fi Horror RPG First Edition, and we'll read what it says on the back. Brace for Hull Breach with a premier module anthology for Mothership. This manifest of 26 brand new third-party supplements introduces a playground of toys, tools, and full adventures, plus a complete campaign setting to use them in. This is one of the most integrated and clever anthologies I have ever seen, and I'll try to show you some of that. It's really takes some time looking through the book to understand how multifaceted it is in terms of the different ways to use the content. It does tell you at the outset how to use this book. It is both an anthology, as it states. It's also a campaign setting where, with the appendix that we'll take a look at maybe even first, it will show you how to integrate each of the material in here into a campaign setting and various sectors of the campaign, and then it will explain to you how to make a Hull Breach campaign and identify the articles that you want to use to go with your favored style of play. I will say that there's so much content in here. Well, two things. One, we're not going to look at every page or every entry. And two, if you are a Mothership player and you think you are going to be a participant in a game run by a warden, you might want to look away or skip over some of the sections here where we're talking about the missions as we take a look at the first of the few credit pages I'm going to show you, because there will be, by necessity, spoilers in here because I'm going to show you some of the mission content. The table of contents does a great job at breaking down exactly the different types of material that is in this anthology, beginning with what's called Intel, and each entry explains to you here like a one-sentence or phrase description of what it is. So this Essence of Dread says empowering horror through sensory description. It will tell you what type of content warning there is. So there's claustrophobia and gore in here. And then in brackets, it will tell you more of the type of material that's in here. So Essence of Dread contains tables and warden advice, whereas the Osprey's Quarry has NPCs, scenarios, tables, and warden advice. So the first section here on Intel does have to do with warden advice, including, I was very happy to see, a section on Wardenless play, and we'll take a look at that as we get to it. The second section or chapter of the book are the missions, and they are detailed here with some variety. A bloodthirsty killer stalks an abandoned station, or you can funnel lab subjects through deadly scientific tests. And again, we have the standard content warnings as well as what is in there, tables, NPCs, mechanics, or maps, for example. There is a section on locations. There is a generator for unique and dangerous planets, or a mysterious retail chain harbors endless back rooms. That's the Interstellar Mega Mart. And then there is a section on entities that has NPCs and tables. We have Alien Species Compendium and Complete Hive Ecology in the Hellkites entry, or we have a Rogues Gallery of Strange and Dangerous NPCs in the Bad Company. And then finally, we end with a section on assets. This is equipment and technology that you could put into your one-shot, or you could put into your campaign. So that gives a sense of the breadth of the material. We have the toolkits and the warden resources. We have the jobs and scenarios, the missions. We have stations and planets in locations. We have creatures and personnel in entities, and we have equipment and technology in assets. And as if that wasn't enough, What the book does throughout, and I'll show you examples of this, is it integrates all of these things. So you could be looking at a location, and in the context of the location, it may send you or direct you to the possibility of, for example, one of the missions, or it will refer you to a separate entry on various entities, or it will require or suggest various assets. So throughout, you are being directed to other areas of the book. And with that, we're going to turn actually to the appendix here to show you how this works in a if you're using this either as a campaign or a one-shot to give a bigger perspective on what you're doing. There are companies here. The mega corporation reaches into every facet of public sector life, and you have the corporations here with a description of what they are like, what the philosophy of them is, and what the feel of a world with this corporation as dominating it might be. So, for example, the upstairs corporation is Station Construction Luxury Products and Services. Their initiative is they coerce or indulge rival CEOs to absolute loyalty. Their problem is internal backstabbing and bureaucratic convolutions. Their secret is they're plotting a merger in a play for the company throne. And then you have page references here. And the page references here are to material in this book that utilizes and takes place in the context of this particular corporation, as opposed to any of the other ones. So if you wanted to begin by setting the tone of whatever you're running with the corporation, say it's the Public Teamsters Union, where they are pacifying legitimate labor organization and actions, but they're dealing with partisan unionists who are threatening to expose the truth, and their secret is the union chair is embezzling trillions of credits. You could then go to these pages and have material that will support play within that type of context. One great example of this, we'll look first at the locations chapter. So these are infamous stations, hideouts, unexplored planets, and megastructures. And we have here, if you want to go to the specific one within it, a beautiful layout. This entire book is designed very thoughtfully. There's references everywhere, and thus far in all my paging through, I haven't seen any errors in pointing to the correct pages, and it's clearly been extensively copy edited for that point. And that's really important when putting together a volume like this, because if you don't have the proper cross-referencing internally, the thing kind of falls apart. But this was obviously very meticulously done. So within the location section, we're going to look at one of these locations a little bit, and this is where I would give a little spoiler alert to players who might want to turn away or skip over this detail if you think you might be playing within the Interstellar Mega Mart. Now, I will say this particular page, it's challenging to read this color font on the black, but this is really the only instance of this I found in the book. The Interstellar Mega Mart facilities appear across all settled space in retail parks, space stations, incongruously open and dilapidated malls. Its friendly and helpful staff bustle in cavernous aisles beneath blinding fluorescent lights, all wearing the same four faces. They sell spacer equipment, furniture, decorating supplies, knickknacks, and more. There is always an unguarded door toward the back, leading to the stockrooms, a space between dimensions, linking every store, no matter how isolated. They're uniformly decorated, drab cream walls, dark blue carpet, yellowing light. Even with companions, emptiness vibrates in the air. It gives you information on how to run it, and it is described as a depth crawl. You're starting at level 1, which is the shop floor, and at each location you can either go deeper, stay there, or turn back, and it gives you a mechanic for doing that. What I wanted to show you, in addition to just that general framework, is how this is referencing other material in the book. So as you go through here, for example, if you look and you are going to accounting and you are determining that there's products there, you can go to page 133, which is in the same module, and find the products. However, if you are, for example, leaving this area, you come upon, you're rolling a 1d5 for the exit location, and you leave this area, and you may be sent somewhere else within this book. For example, if you exit to deep in a cave, you're going to an entirely different setting here, and that's directed on page 156, and this is the terrifying terraforms. So you can spend time within this Megamart and then leave and go somewhere else in the book. So in a sense, it's directing you to play through the book. And some of the missions do this as well. So if we look at Bones and Videotape, which is described as a found footage puzzle dungeon in an alien structure, we can see that as you travel through this, you are described here. You're given a job, which is the employer is the at a university. It's a search and rescue mission for equipment recovery. You get some details here. A video team equipped with prototype video camera to record unusual energy signatures failed to return from an expedition into a structure of unknown origin. You have your objectives, who the team is, what you're going to get for this, some notes for the warden here, and then you have the mission. And in the context of this mission, you will see constantly referred to other assets within this book that are outside of this particular mission. So for example, you may stumble upon some gear here and you get referred to a different page in this book for an explanation of what you actually found, which is in an entirely other place, and you can read about that. Or for example, you may encounter something that is described in the section here on NPCs, and it is referred to, and then you go to the description here of what this NPC is. These are written by different people, but they are connected in that way. So that's another example of how the book makes use of itself in the context of itself. At the opening here, there is a way to just randomly roll 1d5 plus your reputation score to get a mission. It's called the job board here, and you have the mission briefing, the parameters for it, who's employing you, what you're getting, and then the page number that the mission is on. So that's another way into this for like just a one-shot if you wanted to do that. Doing more of a little bit of a flip through here. Chapter 1, the intel, the generators, resources, toolkits, and system hacks here are a combination of Warden advice as well as some mechanics in order to add in things to your game. So this one has to do with resources for running exchanges within the game, rather than just saying it's an illicit transaction. For example, you have some mechanics for actually doing the transaction, how it's done, what the problem is, where it's done, what the payment is, and you're then given a sample mission to have to utilize those mechanics, to put them actually into play. What is Manhunt? Manhunt is a system hack. You assume control of the aliens here, and you are hunting the humans. So it explains to you how it is like Mothership, how it is different, and what Warden resources you may need in order to run it, and it refers you to those. How to create an alien, and as I indicated in terms of the design of the book is phenomenally done, and of course the art is completely integral to the exceptional design. The art is varied and in all cases excellent to the content, to the written content that it is supporting, that it is illustrating and really enhancing. It's not just supporting it. Human adversaries here in this flipped version here, and you have some tables here for what they're like, what they're doing, what they're learning, and some suggestions for types of encounters that you could have with them. And you get a starter adventure for Manhunt to play this kind of flipped version here. Osprey's crew, it's ragtag pirates stalking extrasolar shipping lanes for water freighters. Again, description of how to use the module. What in this particular case, the precious need is water, and water piracy is what's going on here. And you're given some information here about the Osprey, the pirate outpost, and an attack timeline, how you defend against piracy, and again, general information, some crews here and NPCs and encounters that you could have. This is an investigation hack, so you can some advice for the Warden on how to do a kind of mystery or investigation type of mission, and chart here for how you would intersperse clues with locations to create such a mission, and then lots of tables on how to bring up random clues and targets and themes for what type of mission it's going to be, and it gives you some sample of mystery prep. So a lot of detailed Warden advice in those first sections, and then we get to an entire section on Wardenless play, and that is for the solo RPGers out there. This utilizes a deck of cards to help you come up with prompts and scenes and how to interact with the scene and what happens with success or failure in the scene. And it also provides a mechanism for running through a scene, resolving complications, and how to end your game. And then it will make suggestions here. Some of these are outside of this. So this is to Dead Planet, which is a separate module here. Suggestions of how to use these rules. And in a future video, I will probably go into more detail for the soloists on these particular rules and demonstrate a little bit how they can function. But I was really happy to see within this anthology a more than just a nod, but a very full mechanics for Wardenless play. This is the beautiful opening spread for the missions chapter, and I will flip through this pretty quickly so as to minimize the spoilers. We already looked at the bones and videotape here again. There's a lot of variety here in the missions, and you can see, as you would expect, there are rumors and recruits and NPCs and maps for the various missions that there are. And there is a wide range of them. This one has to do with ships jumping into uncharted hyperspace, risking time loss, spatial displacement, and other warp hazards. Megacorporations are jumping roadwork freighters to erode temporal entropy, establishing lucrative proprietary shipping lanes. You get your description of the job here, which is to service these ship systems, assist somebody in their hyperspace studies, and then the Warden advice, what's actually going on here, and then the Warden notes, and then the prompts and things for the mission itself. This is a location, an abandoned forest reserve habitat that is drifting at the edge of core space. It furnishes wealthy corporate scions a party spot away from their gilded cages' ever-present surveillance. And it is both a location and something to do. What's really happening here is for the Warden with the Warden notes, and it is also directing you here toward another section of the book that has to do with a kind of Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland module that is describing a class station suited for repeat visitation, a doomed getaway from the grind. And there is a Alice in Wonderland-esque kind of feel to this, where you are chasing this ever-present and ever-vanishing rabbit in this sort of ethereal kind of place. We looked a little bit at the locations already, and just again thumbing through here, you can see that there's a really wide variety here. This is a one-shot that has to do with basically a trial that happens. There's a very detailed physical location of the judge's chambers, as well as an entire methodology for conducting court procedure and a trial, and very, very, very detailed flowchart of exactly how to do this. Lots of Warden material here. We already looked at the Interstellar Mega Mart a little bit. This is an adventure and toolkit, this procession focusing on a research ship that has been knocked off course by a massive asteroid, and basically you're getting here a megastructure generator to make this thing, and you have some hooks for what it is, and then you can have your party traveling through it. And you have the level generators here, encounters, hazards, features, and appearance, and quite detailed landmarks, personnel, items, a detailed location, and more of that. And even just looking at it visually without my talking about it, you can see the art direction and each entry being so carefully curated, you get a feel for what it might be. Terrifying terraforms are tables to help you create dramatic, dangerous, and unique planets. And then the section on entities. These are tables of unknown life forms, corporate personnel, and criminal elements. And again, I think the book speaks for itself here, just in terms of the care with which it has been designed, laid out, visually as well as content-wise. And this is, I mentioned this earlier, this is the section that has the in deep forgotten space, torrentially dripping hives coil beneath the surface, chittering warnings to uncomprehending ears. And you have notes on the hive alien ecology, what this is, what missions could be, and then you get the details of some hive members, as well as how the hive actually works and what the entire ecology of the hive is and the areas within. So it is not only NPCs or alien entities, but it is them connected to their location, to their hive. And then the final section here are on assets. We sort of looked at this a little bit here. These are some items, they are products, they are things that could be used as a player handout, and then the mapping of, at the very end, the appendix here, where we looked first of all at the company pyramid that we already talked about, as well as the entire setting here, which are the various systems in the sectors, and suggestions of where various things are within each of the settings if you wanted to do your entire campaign here, and then use the missions and material from this book and locate it actually in the appropriate sector. Finally, at the back, we have travel procedures employ these travel procedures to enrich and complicate your crew's travels through the public sector. And we have some short tables here to roll on what happens in interstellar travel or orbital travel or interplanetary travel, and then some tables that will give you landmarks, random encounters, malfunctions, stresses, and things of that nature, and then refer you again back to various content within this book all over the place in a good way to further integrate this if you are actually playing this in this public sector and this is your entire campaign book. You will find everything you need referenced here. If you encounter a landmark, the material is in this anthology. So that is a look inside an incredibly rich and intricately designed, intentionally designed anthology that feels very unified, while at the same time being very clearly written by the voices of a variety of people, as you could see, and illustrated by a variety of people, as you could see just visually and in terms of the type of material, the content. So as a package deal, this feels like it fits together, yet it has the incredible scope and wide variety that you would expect from an anthology with such a wide range of contributors and such a wide range of kind of content, from the Warden resources to the locations to the missions, as well as the creatures, the personnel, and the equipment, and then also the larger context of the corporations and the world itself. I think the company pyramid here really gives a sense of overlay onto a feeling for what the variety of different worlds might be. And the fact that it's all contained in a relatively short book is pretty extraordinary. They're packed a lot into 200 plus pages with Hull Breach. Optimistically, it's called Volume 1. If you are running Mothership, this, I think, is a must-have.